I finally got my red light. I got one of the large plates.
Yeah.
And so I've only been
Well, I
using
can see
it.
one behind you as well.
Oh yes, that yeah. So I'm thinking I might want some other things, and I've already been looking on the site to see what's available. For me, it is helping my back. I have spinal stenosis. I have arthritis. I have degenerative disc disease. And I have a husband who's pretty ill that I have to lift a lot. So I need the strength. I need to build that back. So I'm hoping I'm going to get some relief from that. And when I watched, you were just on a podcast the other day that I watched anyway. And on it, you were showing some of the things that people are seeing improvements on from being on the red light. And some of the things I was hoping for was my husband. He's had a kidney transplant. That was actually like 8 years ago. He now has dementia, just kind of early stages. He now has drop foot in one of his feet and has to wear a brace. He's got a number of issues. I'm 71, and it's really helped. The red light, I am now I'm also using it on my legs. It's just helping with cramps. It's just that, like shin splints from standing a long time. Yeah. And so I've just now started using it on the legs as well. And I'm really hoping that, I'm going to get wonderful relief from that as well.
Right.
But I'm so sold on all this. I just, you're a miracle out there happening. So,
it takes a lot of courage to go through what we've been through.
The doctors themselves are coming more and more because they say, hey, I'm not the same.
I laid in bed for 6 months with this raging pain.
One of the things that we have to have the courage to do is to act upon the information we have in front of us.
And what's the success of some of these therapies? What are you seeing as the results?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a great deal of promise.
So we need this solution because it will create a cancer from here to 2030.
Hey, it's Jonathan Otto, and welcome to a brand new episode of Healing Revolution, bonus episode 5, Mind-Altering Mold. Are we being controlled by the fungi living among us? In this episode, we're diving into something that's been silently affecting your mind and overall health: mold. The mold that you see on your bathroom tiles, in the corners of your basement, or under your kitchen sink could be playing a much darker role in your health than you ever imagined. Mold doesn't sit idly in your home. These toxic invaders wreak havoc on nearly every system in your body. You've probably heard about mold's effect on cognitive function and mood, but did you know that mold exposure can also mess with your immune system, fertility, and even your vision? When you're exposed to mold, your immune system is one of the first things to take a hit. Research shows that mycotoxins can trigger chronic inflammation, which can weaken your body's natural defenses. Over time, this leaves you more vulnerable to everything from respiratory problems and chronic fatigue to joint pain and muscle weakness. It doesn't stop there. Mold toxicity has also been linked to fertility issues. A study showed that mycotoxins can interfere with hormone production, which can disrupt your reproductive health. Whether you're struggling with infertility, irregular cycles, or hormonal imbalances, mold could be the unseen culprit affecting your body's ability to function at its best. And for those who aren't aware, mold can even impact your vision. Long-term exposure to mold and mycotoxins can cause eye irritation, dry eyes, and even vision issues. The inflammation caused by mold exposure can affect your tear ducts and corneal health, making your eyes more prone to discomfort and damage. In this episode, Doug Kaufman returns with an urgent warning. Mold exposure isn't just about allergies or respiratory issues. It can silently infiltrate your body, hijack your immune system, and even contribute contribute to cancer. Most people don't realize just how common mold contamination is. A 2024 study found that 10% to 50% of homes in North America contain some level of mold, and that's just the mold we know about. Indoor mold, especially in air ducts and behind walls, is inhaled daily, allowing fungal spores to settle deep within the body. But here's where it gets even more alarming. Mold exposure doesn't just come from the air. It can be in the food supply too. Certain grains like corn and wheat are notorious for fungal contamination. And when ingested, these molds release mycotoxins, poisons that can trigger inflammation, neurological damage, and even cancer. And the worst part is this: most people have no idea that they're being poisoned. And if you're struggling with brain fog, allergies, chronic fatigue, or unexplained illness, mold could be the missing piece. Doug exposes how mold infiltrates the body, why mainstream medicine ignores the real dangers, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself.
So the question often comes up, how do we come in contact with this mold? Mold or fungus is a really tricky organism. It's been around forever. Leviticus in the Bible talks about Moses and his brother Aaron, and the Lord standing there saying, all this land I'm giving you, the land of Canaan. However, if I put a spreading mildew in a house in that land, you must tell the high priest, hey, there's gray fuzz growing in my house. Why? And there were restrictions, clothing, skin, breathing it in, etc. And that goes back thousands of years. It's amazing to me this isn't taught in medical training. So that's one way we're exposed, by inhaling it. An estimate, a new research paper just came out in 2024 that talked about the commonality of a home impregnated with mold. In North America, about 10 to 50% of homes have mold to some degree in them. I have grandkids. That means from time to time the bathtub overflows. That means, wet towels everywhere, etc. So mold indoor, mold, inhaling it, is a problem. Now, remember, there are estimates there's 3 to 5 million species of fungi out there. We have thus far categorized 75,000 of them. We don't know much about mold. And of those 75,000, a tiny fraction, about 300, are human pathogens. That means they can make us symptomatic or give us a disease. So it's rare, but the most common molds in our environment, Candida albicans, single-cell mold called yeast, aspergillus, penicillium, can grow in the ducting system in a house, and you're breathing it. I always used to tell the doctor's patients, if you have asthma, if you're sneezing perennially, not seasonally, but perennially all the time, go rent an Airbnb. We used to call them rentals, mountain rentals back then, but go rent a cabin for a week. And I've got to tell you, 80% of those people who got out of their homes went and stayed in a cabin. Thank God the cabin didn't have a mold problem, but they got up high in the mountains. They would call the doctors I work with and say, this is unbelievable. It's not the patient that was impregnated with the mold, it's the home. And by inhaling mucous membrane tissue, by inhaling, that mold is trapped in us and can flourish. Interestingly, that's one way that we are exposed to mold. The second, I believe one of the most common ways, is via our food supply. We know that certain grains, corn and wheat, are the worst. Peanuts are sometimes contaminated with various molds. It's when we eat these that we may end up in trouble because those molds off-gas a poison inside our body. Old medical textbooks talked about farmers who picked up bales of hay and cut themselves, and the hay had been out in the rain. And mold then entered that, and they would have a cardiovascular event or some horrible event that they couldn't quite figure out 100, 200 years ago. We're exposed to mold, all of us, all the time. Mold is ubiquitous. If you can imagine as you're sitting there watching this, on your eyelashes, worse, your pillow. People with asthma and allergies need to change their pillow. Maybe once a year. We sweat at night sometimes. We drool at night, especially when you get my age. The pillow can get contaminated with mold, and then we lay our head back on. A third of our life is spent on our pillow. And so that's something that people need to consider. There are ways we're exposed to it. There are molds that don't harm us, and there are molds that we now know cause human cancer.
Hey there, it's Jonathan, and thank you so much for watching this bonus episode of Healing Revolution. It's been an honor to provide these resources to you. It's one of the most heartwarming things that I get to do with my life, to reach the world with these resources. And there are many people that you know and you love and you care about that aren't watching this. And this is part of the reason why I'm inviting you to own this series, to help yourself and to be able to help your loved ones. You're the one that's set there in their life to reach them. They don't know me. Maybe some of them do. Maybe you've got some really great and connected friends that are into these types of life-changing resources, but maybe you don't. And what you want to do is plug them into these resources by having this in your home. Owning Healing Revolution, all 12 episodes, all the 12 bonus episodes, the 60 full-length interviews, all the master classes, the Healing Revolution Challenge, which is a live 10-day challenge, the mini series, and so much more that we've got here for you, all the books that we've prepared for you, really great cutting-edge information that you obviously won't hear about from your local doctor's office, unfortunately, but we're giving all this great content. When you purchase your series, you'll get the 77% off discount, but you're also getting some amazing tools like the ones I just mentioned, and including our red light therapy belt and our supplement package. So just wait a moment, I'll grab this here for you. And here's our red light therapy belt. Very, very simple, but very effective, very, very powerful. And you can control the settings. You can put it on the highest setting or the lowest setting. Here it is on L0. Here it is pulsating at the lowest setting. Let's push that setting up to the highest setting with the pulsation mode. So you've got some great ways to navigate around this to get red light therapy in your body and experiment with different settings on yourself. It's as simple as just strapping it on and turning it on. Okay. Generally, for me, my advice isn't to use the setting that has the lights flickering, but there are some studies that show that to be very effective. So experiment with both, see what works best for you. Generally, the consistency I find to be the most effective, but it's a matter of just getting the product on your body, using it. Red Life, we're a company that stands by our products. We do have the highest quality products on the market. We have the highest irradiance, the most proven wavelengths in our devices, hence why we have the 850 and 660, both the red and near infrared. And by just strapping this on, taking your supplements, these are activated at different wavelengths, and that's why we've got the red and near infrared to help activate all of the critical ingredients in these formulas, and you can then get the best out of what you're doing. Some people are struggling because they hear about one thing and they start taking this or that formula. And I shared the story of Natalia Voloshin, who was struggling really because of this, that solution, this thing, that thing. You've probably been through that. You've heard that it's going to be this thing, that's the great solution, but it's not. There's really no one solution. But there are a collection of things that when added together at the same time will help you get that result. And often the reason why people are still stuck, still struggling, is because they haven't learned how to combine those things. And so we're taking out the guesswork, we're just giving you the protocol, just straight up, so that all you have to do is just follow the protocol. It's a 60-day protocol. You take the 8 supplements over those 2 months, and then you see the benefits. And if you can, you use the red light device daily. If you can't, 2 to 3 times a week is still suffice at a minimum of around 12 minutes. But again, if you just get a few minutes in, your body will feel the difference. Like the Birmingham University study that only tested a single minute per day. It was on mice, but nevertheless, it was a spinal cord injury study, and it showed that it was regenerative of the spine and protective of the neurons in this case. So it was touted as being neuroprotective. So because of this, we see studies that show even very small amounts of time for people that really don't have much time on their hands. They can use that and test that, and you can move that around different parts of your body each time. And so it's really a safe way to do red light therapy. Do your own research to see how you would like to best do that. And again, when combined with the supplements, you can get tremendous results. But look, some people, they are having brain fog or memory recall issues, or they've got some emotional challenges with anxiety. And these are all the things that study showed that it was effective for. It was specifically in those areas: brain fog, executive function, memory recall, digestive digestive issues, oxygen above 97% without supplementation, and dyspnea. And so there's a long list of challenges that most people are struggling with that have some kind of brain fog, some kind of memory issues, and they're not necessarily normal. They're often and almost always signs of toxicity, and your body is lacking the voltage that your cells need to be able to cleanse your body of those toxins and to be able to perform normal cell function. So get the belt, get the supplement protocol package, get started today. It's simple. It's just a simple decision of saying yes to yourself, yes to your health and healing. And you can say yes to yourself today and use these tools, and just know that you are worth it. Your body is a healing machine, but it needs the right formulas to activate that healing. You can do it. I believe in you. Grab it all here on this page while it's available. We do have a huge demand right now, and it's extremely popular, a little more popular than what we even expected. We knew that this was going to be a big deal, but there is a huge demand. So make sure you're at the front of that line by placing your order here on this page while it's available today. And that goes as well with the supplement protocol package and our printed supplies. So make sure to get it all here. And I look forward to seeing what you think of the rest of this episode. Scroll down below to place your order. And thanks so much for joining me.
But I'm an old guy. I made it through. I think you have to live your life from an antifungal perspective. Sweating, exercise, eating foods. I eat organic. I rarely eat at restaurants, although at lunch, my producer and I have found a couple restaurants that will make food our way. My wife and I don't go out to eat. And many of the spices, thyme, oregano, and so forth, have antimicrobial, antifungal properties, but they also are vulnerable to mold impregnation. I have a picture of a coconut eaten away by mold. And I always thought, wow, with the MCT oils and with the meat, all the antifungal properties in a coconut, lauric acid, caprylic acid, you would think that they would win the war. Food never wins the war. Man never wins the war. It's so ironic to me that when we die, as you dig down in soil, the deeper you go, the more bacteria, the more fungus. All fungus wants to do once it's on board is go home. When we die, we dig a hole 6 feet deep and mold gets to go home. But before that time, we're eating contaminated foods, cereals, pastas, things of that sort you have to be careful of. I've developed a 2-step meal plan, the Kaufman 1 and the Kaufman 2 diet. Kaufman 2 diet allows beans, high protein source. There are probably 3 to 5 million molds out there. Many people think it's not so much the mycotoxins and the fungus in our body and the yeast as it is the immune system. So how do we keep the immune system up? There are so many, I've written on this, so many approaches to that. There's the supplement called beta-glucan that modulates the immune system. Probiotics, we're now realizing, most are pro, and postbiotics, means a little's left over, little munition factories are left over. I love probiotics, and this is what I try and teach people. Psyllium, inexpensive, buy it at the health food store, tablespoon in a glass of water at night, shake it up, shoot it down. Psyllium binds mycotoxins. Mycotoxins? Mm-hmm. Have you been on a lot of them? Mm-hmm. And I've had all sorts of symptoms since. Bind those mycotoxins with a tablespoon of psyllium a few nights a week. It enhances regularity, and it also binds those poisons from within the belly. So people looking for a plan, be careful of what you eat. Regularly exercise. I mean, I'm an old guy, and yesterday for 22 minutes, I kicked my own rear. I think it's important to maintain cognitive function. Many of these mycotoxins are neurotoxic. We knew in 1945 that penicillin was a neurotoxin. And yet that's hushed today. We know that antibiotics increase the risk. The more antibiotics you take, the more cancer, breast, prostate, etc. you see. And that's so well hidden in the halls of science, I can't believe it. Dr. A.V. Costantini and 2 partners, 3 physicians with the World Health Organization, have published widely on this. One of their questions in their book called Prostate Cancer, Hope at Last. They also wrote a book called Breast Cancer, Hope at Last. 300-400 pages on fungus contributing to cancer back in the 80s. He was one of my heroes. And they asked the question, are antibiotics carcinogenic to humans? And then they go on to say, certainly doctors wouldn't believe such a risk exists for a pill given to billions of people. However, it is a mycotoxin. Penicillium is the mold. Penicillin is the poison it makes. It has to be poison to kill tiny bacteria. The more antibiotics you're on, the more neurotoxicity we see, the more cancers we see. And this is not commonly known in the halls of science. Doctors are not taught this, unfortunately. So we have to be the other adult in the exam room. We have to ask the right questions. Can I go on a supplement? Look, I'll put garlic in my socks. Is there anything I can do to get over this darn, going on inside my body, or this horrible skin rash? I think people who love their doctor stay with them. You got a gem if you love your doctor and he or she listens to you. But I also recommend people find a naturopath. These are ND degree naturopathic doctors who study supplements and herbs and things like that. If you have a doctor, find a good naturopath that you can go to from time to time, because naturopaths learn a lot about mold, mildew, and fungal poisoning. One question I got asked often, and interestingly, most of the doctors wanted to know this, and then their patients wanted to know it. How do I know if I'm eating moldy corn? Well, have you ever shucked corn? You pull it back and all those brown and gray kernels. Okay, you might have a mold problem. Most corn is not. But remember, corn is very sweet. And if you've got a fungal or a yeast problem on board, fungus loves that. People who crave sugar. How do you know if you crave sugar? Look in your sock drawer. Little Hershey's Kisses in there. Look in the middle compartment of your car. You got some goodies in there. You may be craving sugar. There's interesting mouse studies that have been done that they give a tummy yeast condition or fungal condition to mice, and they begin craving carbohydrates. So that's one question. Doctor, ask your patient, do you find yourself craving sugars? If the answer is yes, that's one clue. Dr. Bill Crook, who wrote The Yeast Connection many, many years ago, I had the distinct honor of meeting with him, an amazing man. He had a ballparker test. Have you been on lots of antibiotics? Do you have arthritis? Mycotic arthritis is real, fungal arthritis. Do you have acne? Mycotic acne is real. Doctors don't know that. They think it's all bacterial because there are hundreds of antibiotics on the market when they went to medical school and a dozen antifungals. That leads a young, impressionable, brilliant, 170 IQ boy or girl to realize fungus isn't a big deal. But boy, that bacteria must be a big deal. How do we test for it? How do we test for mold? The best way to test for mold is to do a culture test. So if you've got something oozing on your body, the doctor will take a cotton swab, put it on a petri dish, send it off to a laboratory, and mold takes a while to grow out on a plate. They'll then identify it, call the doctor back and say, you have Aspergillus mold. But there are 80 species of Aspergillus mold, 2 of which cause human cancer. We're commonly exposed to these. And a doctor doesn't know that unless he's picking up and reading the new scientific literature. There are blood tests. And I should probably take just a moment and educate people. As a guy who used to run a lab, we humans make 5 protective antibodies, or B cells, IgG or immunoglobulin G, A, M, E, and D. If you have an active infection, look, I want to know if my blepharospasms, my eye twitches that I've had for 2 weeks are linked. I moved into a new home. I think it had a mold problem, and I've got a neuro problem going on here. Ask the doctor for a simple blood test that tests IgM mold. A doctor can do that. Most laboratories test for IgG. IgM antibodies in your body graduate after a month to IgG, and you carry it forever, immunomemory. So if you had Epstein-Barr virus and the doctor tests and said, yep, you're showing IgG antibodies to Epstein-Barr, that's when that little girl in back you sneezed on you in, 4th grade, and you've carried around Epstein-Barr or mononucleosis antigen forever, and antibodies you're making to that antigen. The only sure way of testing for mold takes a couple of weeks. Doctor, don't wait. If you've got a patient with a refractory pneumonia, all your antibiotics, including vancomycin, aren't working, think fungus. The scientific literature is replete now. The Center for Disease Control since 2017 have been begging doctors to stop the abuse of antibiotics, which are mycotoxins, number one. But number two, every year they host a 1-week program online, the Center for Disease Control, called Think Fungus. And I was so thrilled. You can't imagine the number of people and doctors that began sending me the CDC's notification. This is the way I believe the Center for Disease Control gets us, we the people, to educate our doctors. My problem may not be bacteria, doc. You've had me on antibiotics for 6 months. I'm worried about my increased risk of breast or prostate cancer while I'm on these antibiotics. Could we try an antifungal? And when I say try, antifungal drugs are potentially hepatotoxic. They're a bit dangerous to the liver when you're on them for long periods of time. I worked with so many doctors and I taught them to experiment with antifungals. 2 weeks on a diet and these drugs. Then when you follow up in 2 weeks and they're saying, wow, I can't believe how good I feel, drop the drugs and put them on safe, natural, inexpensive apple cider vinegar, the great antifungal. Put them on things in a health food store that are affordable, and you, doc, don't have to worry about hepatotoxicity, liver toxicity from the drugs. The diet is the most important thing. The supplements will hold them up while they're on the diet.
Next, Dr. David Morcom returns to reveal another overlooked danger of mold exposure, how mycotoxins can silently disrupt the body's metabolic and immune systems. Many people assume mold-related illnesses only affects the lungs or sinuses, but research shows that these toxins can drive systemic inflammation, gut dysfunction, and even immune suppression. In fact, fungal infections are often completely silent with no obvious symptoms until the damage is already done. Dr. Morcom shares shocking cases of patients with severe fungal overgrowth, yet no gut symptoms at all. Hidden mold exposure can trigger autoimmune responses, neurological inflammation, and even muscular dysfunction, yet most doctors never test for it. He exposes why traditional medicine overlooks fungal infections, how mold affects the nervous system and immune function, and what it really takes to eliminate these hidden toxins. And to end off this episode, Susan Russell and Elaine Simmons return alongside Zia, the mold dog, to expose a shocking truth. Mold isn't just hiding in old, water-damaged buildings, it's in new homes, fresh lumber, and even inside brand new air conditioning units. Most people assume their homes are safe, but what if the building materials themselves were already contaminated before the house was even built? Lane shares how big box store lumber often carries hidden mold spores, meaning that houses sometimes are sealed up with mold already inside. And the consequences, years of unexplained health issues, all because of a mold infestation no one knew was even there. Standard mold tests often miss it, but Zia's powerful scent detection reveals contamination that inspectors overlook. Up next, Susan and Lane reveal why even new homes can be toxic, why traditional inspections fail, and how Zia exposes the mold that no one else can find.
The fascia is a net that holds and connects all the different structures of the anatomy, of the organ systems, of the muscles and skeletal systems, of the bones and the cranial plates and things in the head even. And so it's the scaffolding in many ways of the structure that keeps things in a place to perform this kinetic unit of the beauty of this complex system that we have. And so when we talk about the myofascial, we can see it as the bridge many times between the anatomical and the structural to the actual mental, emotional in many ways too. A lot of times when there is any kind of trauma especially, and we can focus on physical trauma first, that can cause a hyperreactivity of the immune response, which then can cause inflammation and a tightening of this net here, and this tightening can then pull on other areas of the body, including organ systems or musculoskeletal system. So that can cause referred pain to places very far away from the actual site of the injury. So a lot of times, for example, we have this myofascial from the bottom of our feet all the way to the top of our heads. And so we might have a issue, say in our C1, our atlas is constantly falling out, right? Well, we have to look at where in the fascial net is it tightened, where that trauma is, so we can isolate that and release that. And so, for example, a lot of times people have injuries, inside the ankles pretty commonly, right? So the bottom of the feet's there, and you can release that, and that can create some space there, which allows for the rest of the kinetic unit to be able to breathe and have more spaciousness. So when things are so tight, a little injury here, a little thing off, or maybe eat the wrong thing, can cause tension through the myofascial network, and then can pull on other areas of the system to activate your particular pattern of pain, for example. And so we also want to talk about organ system tension. I think this is really misunderstood often. We talk about pain, we go to chiropractors and go to get massage, and nothing wrong with that. And we can talk about how this is beneficial. But a lot of times too, you really need to look at the inner organ inflammation and tension that is creating in the myofascial system. And so, for example, I have a child that I am working with that has muscular dystrophy. And so this is a neurological condition, a lot of times autoimmune regulated, that is causing the muscles and things not to work and to have weakness throughout the system. And so for this patient, we did a panel that looked at autoimmune antibodies throughout the neurological system, whether the blood-brain barrier or brain directly itself or the myelin sheath of the highways of communication. We can look at it all. Look at, 50 different ones. We could see, okay, he had a variety of things of brain inflammation. He was attacking his own brain. That's part of his condition. But when we look at the actual root through our metabolic testing, through using something called organic acid testing, we looked at his arabinose levels were really high. So he had a severe fungal overgrowth, off the charts actually. And what's so interesting is this patient had zero symptoms of the gut, but actually zero other symptoms in general. And that's what's, the hardest to diagnose, because it's very easy when someone comes to me and they have very particular symptoms, and that tells us what's happening here. But a lot of times things are silent. Silent fungal infections are actually very common, and the patient may not even believe it at the time, but we treat it, we kill it, we repair the gut, and things improve. And so this is exactly what happened here, is that really as we started to kill off some of this fungal overgrowth and repair the lining itself, a lot of the inflammation in the body started to fall, and immediately his posture changed, and he was able to kind of open up his chest and be more normal again, instead of having all this kind of fascial tension pulling his whole system out of place. When the people I work with, collaborate with many practitioners, but I have different body workers I work with, and then when they looked at him, they were able to see a lot of the fascial systems being so tight here, which is pulling on other areas of the body here. But he was pretty tight throughout from all that inactivity for so long. So I don't want to ever just think that one therapy is going to resolve something for anyone, really. Everyone's so passionate about the one thing that they do, and that this is the solution for everything. It's one piece of the puzzle that's a solution for one sect or demographic of person that has that particular aspect of pathophysiology happening. And so often there's actually different things for different people that are actually causing their particular issues. And you need to find the arrangement of treatments and therapies and nutraceuticals and herbs and mindfulness and conscious practice, spirituality, whatever it may be for you, to address those particular issues. So each person is a puzzle, and you need to kind of be a detective and be curious about what those things may be for you. And it may not always be the thing that's the most obvious, and it may not be one simple thing. Today, in the complex chronic conditions that I treat and see regularly, it's so multifactorial, and people are focusing on just one thing or another, or they're just looking at the physiology. They've done all the gut work, they've done all the detox, but hey, how about the nervous system? Maybe there is brain injury, maybe there's sympathetic dominance and trauma and PTSD in the system, or maybe there's structural things of the fascia that are constantly pulling on things that are preventing the gut from even being able to move properly. Maybe there's toxicity in the system, the metals that are poisoning the vagus nerve that prevents the input to allow the gut to be able to even move, that keeps us in fight or flight. Mold, mercury, all these other metals that are more severe, they create extreme upregulation of the system and a constant state of inflammation. And so, so much of my keys, I think, for healing here is that, yes, we can take the best of anti-inflammatories and antioxidants, the turmerics, omegas, and vitamin Ds, and quercetin, etc., and they can start knocking the inflammation down. But we want to look at what's causing that inflammation itself. And a lot of times it's these toxins that are fat soluble, they're in the tissues causing it, or the gut issues, infections, etc. So it really just more effective that way. If you just first get rid of what is causing the problem, is causing the inflammation in the first place, then we don't have this uphill battle. And then maybe we can use some anti-inflammatories, things stabilize, and we don't need to use them long term. A lot of times people are just using all these different supplements and nutrients and nutraceuticals and peptides and whatever to calm down the inflammation and keep themselves stable. But that's not real health. Real health is resilience to the world, to be able to not sleep at night, eat the wrong food, and still feel good. And so by doing this deeper work, it doesn't take long. You just have to find someone that you trust that knows how to do this more functional medicine, holistic approach to really address root cause here. You get rid of the rotting roots, the rest of the tree falls back into place, the leaves get green, the branches get strong, and all the symptoms start going back into place. And then if you need to focus on any particular thing, then you can focus on that thing, and it's going to work so much better, so much faster, so much easier, because you address the roots of the tree already. And a lot of times you don't even need to address it. Just by, again, fixing the roots of the tree, these other systems fall back into place. When a patient comes in with a lot of nondescript symptoms, sometimes there's some curiosity of what's actually going on. It's not obvious at first. Some people come in with no symptoms, but they have these extreme diagnoses. So most of the time, there is a pattern of symptomology that can be recognized. And I've been doing this for over 15 years, for example. Many people doing it for much longer. We get a sense of intuition to really recognize patterns over time of different symptoms connected with other symptoms and other systems that can tell us maybe what is happening and how these systems are interconnected. And so usually, we put out the fires first, the obvious things that are going on. We get their energy up, get their hormones up, kind of help support the adrenals. We make sure they're sleeping well. We make sure they're going to the restroom daily. Kind of simple, easy things like that, just knocking down their pain and inflammation, for example. And then we get some testing. And that testing is going to look at the real causes of that inflammation itself. So they don't need to stay on all those other supplements. Because many times, actually, even the first month, patients are feeling a lot better, especially when you're using these nanoparticles. They go directly into the system and they have their effect, and people start feeling better. But if they just stop those things, they're going to fall back out of place again. The adrenals will start getting weak, the energy systems will start falling again, because the root cause that's causing the inflammation still hasn't been addressed. And so, and that second appointment, when we go over the labs, we're looking at what is creating that inflammation in the body in the first place.
Mold inspectors are really limited kind of by the tools that they have. And you'll see, mold can be in a wall, and if it's the right temperature and right thermal, they can take a thermal camera and try and read the wall, and it could be covered. But if it's not putting out any heat signature or anything like that, then they won't see it with the camera. So it doesn't matter to her what the temperature is, because if it's putting off mold odor, then she's gonna find it. So I think it's it really can be anywhere. It's people say, well, it can't get under ceramic tile, and I've seen plenty of pictures and videos. They pull tile up and it's molded under there. I see a lot of bathroom sinks are common, kitchen sinks, chimneys. That's just from roof leaks or flashing is separated and water's getting down in between the chimney and the attic. A big thing is it's lumber, right? It's sitting outside. When we trained with her, one of the questions I asked our trainer was like, where do you get your mold at? Because I'm going to need to obviously get some mold. And he said, I buy it from big box stores. And he took me to one of them, and we walked in the lumber aisle and he's like, that's mold, that's mold, that's mold. And, you know, I have a decade plus of woodworking experience, and I buy lumber and I thought it was dirt. You know, I would just sand it off and plane it and mill it up and it's like good to go. And we bought a piece of lumber and cut it up, and she was alerting on it like all week during training. So same thing happens when they stack lumber outside of houses when they're building them for sometimes weeks, and it gets rained on and it's wet, and they frame it up, and like you just said, they wrap it and they seal that house up and roll, and not knowing like you're just trapping all that moisture in. So
we do a lot of brand new homes.
Yeah. And we've seen it, you know, everywhere. Air conditioning units that are weeks old, and the dehumidifiers are recalled and they can't dehumidify properly. So then it's just pumping mold.
And you think about too, the plumbing is running all throughout the house through the walls. One thing that is common, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the bedroom that in this house that we're talking in backs up to the kitchen and the kitchen sink.
Right.
So if somebody's sleeping in that room and then you find a leak on this side of the wall. So I know that Leah is always cognizant of, you know, if there's a problem in a bedroom, what's on the outside, the washer and dryer, the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink.
Yeah.
That, you know, is it going down back under the wall or the floor?
Yeah. A lot of times I'll see like, you know, the headboard for their master bedroom backs up to the wall that's directly on the other side of the shower. And she'll alert on the shower, and it's like, well, no wonder you feel bad, because your head is laying 1 foot from mold for 8, 9, 10 hours every single night.
And so
I'm very cognizant about every time she alerts, my first question is like, what's on the other side of this wall? Because I want to know, is she going to get odor on that side too, or kind of what are we looking at? So there's a lot that goes into it other than just, you know, carrying a leash through a house and watching the dog sit.
And marking it. We do get quite often after she's gone through a house, the clients will send us pictures. Like they've had the inspector come in, or they move into remediation and they're tearing it open and seeing what's in there, and they'll send us the pictures. I mean, there's like all kinds of mold.
Yep.
And it's crazy.
We've had somebody send me a picture, I think it was a week after we got done, of a mushroom like that had gone, it was non-existent, and a week later it was a mushroom like that big, just had popped up and grown out of the floor. So pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're talking about all of this, but why is this of concern? I mean, so many people out there that if they've not walked through this, they don't realize the impact that mold has on the body. I mean, it can be anywhere from, you know, sickness, headaches, brain inflammation, allergies, gut dysbiosis problems, constipation, sinuses that won't clear. For me, it was what they call brain on fire. My brain it swells, and just pain, extreme pain, neck coming off, the occipital coming off. People have joint pain. They have, you know, just achy bones, like I said, be joint pain, coughs that won't go away, anxiety, depression, cancer, and death. A lot of people have died. Charmaine Nugent, Ted Nugent's wife, family, they lost their home, their big, beautiful home. She has pictures of herself on her deathbed. She was very, very sick. So she's a huge proponent of, you know, helping people understand the dangers of, I would say, hidden toxic mold, because it's all, we like to say that any mold is bad mold and you need to get out of the house. It shouldn't be growing in the house. It does not have to be black mold. Our dog searches up to like, we say 18 to 20. It was originally 18, but we've extended that to what we're training her with is 20 different species of mold. Well, it's actually genres of mold that have multiple species.
Yeah.
So thousands.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's pretty serious.
Hey, it's Jonathan, and thank you so much for joining me in this episode. Mold is a big health problem, and we shouldn't ignore it, especially considering how widespread and insidious it actually is. Did you know that 10 to 50% of homes in North America contain mold? And that's just the mold we can see. Most people don't realize it, but mold spores are often hiding in the walls of ventilation systems. What's even more shocking is that new homes could be contaminated with mold before you even move in. You might think of a brand new home as being safe from mold, but that's far from the truth. Building materials like lumber, drywall, and insulation can be exposed to moisture before they even make it to your home, creating a perfect environment for mold growth. Even more shocking is how mold doesn't just sit in your house quietly, it is actively working against your body. Doug Kaufman's warning about mold's potential to trigger cancer is a wake-up call we can't ignore. When mold infiltrates your system, it releases mycotoxins that can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly affect your cognitive function. And here's another important piece of information. Mold isn't just in your home, it's in the food you eat too. A loaf of bread or a bowl of cereal might not just be affecting your waistline, it could be impacting your immune system and causing chronic inflammation. This is a huge piece of the puzzle that most people have never connected, and it could be the reason why some health issues for many people have never been resolved. Awareness is the first step toward action. Armed with knowledge shared by experts like Doug Kaufman, Dr. David Morcom, and the mold detection experts Susan Russell and Elaine Simmons, you now know how mold and mycotoxins infiltrate our bodies in ways we couldn't even imagine. The key to protecting your health lies in knowing where to look for hidden mold in your home, in your food, and in your body. And now you have the tools to fight back. Hey there, it's Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining me in this bonus episode. As we wrap up this episode and make it further through the series, we make it closer to that finish line when you would have watched all the episodes, and we will finally expire or retire this special offer, which means that if you're on the fence, you're thinking about getting this amazing program, now's the time to say yes to yourself and your healing, and yes to your loved ones' healing. By having these resources at your fingertips, you'll be able to continue to inspire, support, and help your loved ones with all these materials. And if you've enjoyed this, you've got a lot of value from the content, just wait to see what's in store for you with all the masterclasses, with all the additional free materials that we've added into this program that will last not only months to come, but even years to come. You'll have a library there at your fingertips, like your own Netflix. But instead of paying a monthly subscription, it's a one-time payment that you can then put in on this page. And so as I wrap this up, it's a quick reminder to let you know that we do have the red light therapy belt still available. It's here. Let me just show it to you just a moment. Here's the red light therapy belt. I'm just turning it on here. And let's turn it up to the highest setting. There we go. The red light therapy belt. And you can then use this to take away even pain. We've seen people use these for all different conditions. I've got to be really careful with making claims around different diseases and so forth. But this is a tremendous way to support the health and healing of your body. And it's such a simple step, it almost sounds unbelievable to have something that in this case you could get for free that could give you so much benefit. But try it out and watch what happens. And if you're not in any way satisfied or didn't get the miraculous result that you thought you were going to get, then just ask for a refund and we'll make sure to perform that promptly. So it's very simple, but it's just a matter of getting these tools, getting started, and saying yes to your health and your healing. And so you can claim it here on this page along with the amazing 8 supplement protocol that is just there with a click of a button down below. Claim it all, and these free gifts are tools that we can't offer for everyone. It's just for a limited time for those that see this and they're excited, the fast action takers. You guys are the ones that will be able to secure this and get this amazing gift. I'm so excited to be able to support you at this level. It's something that so few people are able to do. They don't have all of these tools available, and you'll either deal with a supplement company that just has supplements, they don't have red light therapy, nor do they have content information that helps train you and give you all the right information, nor do they have community, but we have all of those things. So think about this. You've got the information, you've got the community with the live training sessions where you have the ability to interact with each other and with me and other experts that we have in. So those two things. So the content, the information, and the community. Then you've got the supplements and the red light therapy products all in one. And so you're able to claim it all here, but it doesn't do anything unless you take action and unless you use it. So take action. When this comes to you in the mail, make sure to get it out of the box, put the formulas in your body. Don't wait till everything's perfect and that you know everything, because that's where people get stuck. They think that somehow there's something that they don't know. But it really is one of those things where you need to take action in order to know what is the next step. And then you can ask better questions, you can see how you're performing, And it's all these fast action takers that just don't have so much resistance. They don't have like a million questions that they really can't get answered, because you won't know if this works for you unless you actually try it. And you can quickly just go on Google right now, open a new tab and put in red light therapy, the condition that you're facing, the symptom that you're facing or a loved one is facing. Put that into Google. Look at the studies that come up and say, okay, wow, these studies exist. This could work for me. Look up the formulas and how well they can work, and look up the ingredients for how they could help you. Any of these ingredients, there's about 65 different ingredients across these products, and you look up these ingredients, then find out what they do in your body, and let that research then help you understand, okay, this could work, but then it's a matter of trying it out. And we're just seeing amazing results, and it will work. It works for everyone. And the reason for that is because you have a liver and you have kidneys and you have a heart, and if you didn't, you wouldn't be alive. And even if you have one kidney because you got a transplant and you got one surgically removed, you have to have these vital organs. They all have mitochondria. They need fuel, they need the light, and they need certain tools like supplements that will help stimulate and will help the regeneration of mitochondria, help something called mitophagy, the shutting down, the apoptosis, the programmed cell death of diseased mitochondria that are senescent, that aren't performing, that are zombie cells or zombie mitochondria, organelles that are circulating surrounding your nucleus. And these are problematic if they're not recharged with light. And the best thing to do is combine light therapies with photodynamic tools, which are photosensitive. And remember this process called photosynthesis. When plants intake light, they are charged and they continue to be charged. And when they're put in the body and activated with light, then that charge is released and they're able to do so many wonders in the body. So that is an incredible combination. And it's one of the reasons why we continue to be leaders. On top of that, we do something that a lot of people aren't willing to speak about, and that is to educate on chlorine dioxide, urine therapy that are free therapies. Chlorine dioxide costs next to nothing. And that's one of the reasons why it's so targeted, because it would turn around so many of the cancer cases that we're seeing. So you can do the research on that, use our tools, our research, our resources with our experts that have educated you on this powerful substance, and use this community to help you implement this and get results. Tell us about it. That's the thing that lights me up, gives me the enthusiasm to do what I do. And it really is very unsatisfying. Outside of me getting those things, I'll go and do something else with my life. It's just not worth it. There's too many risks involved in this type of work because of the controversy surrounding it. But the transformations give me the fuel to keep going and to keep working to change lives just like your life. So take control of your health today. Order this package while it's available. Secure all these amazing free gifts while they're available before they expire or sell out. And you can grab it here on this page by scrolling down below and placing your order. Thanks so much.